Right. As you look around the table, today what we're doing is we're going to be making rubber stamps. And then this week, we're just making the stamp. Next week, we're going to be making the prints. So for example, I've got lots of examples I've made over the years. This is the rubber stamp I made. Okay. You start off with a piece of rubber that's blank, and then you're going to be using special knives to cut out the rubber, and then when you end up with a finished stamp, you can use it to make prints. Okay, basically this stamp, you get ink on it, and I don't know if I have enough ink, but it's supposed to be able to get a print. I didn't put enough ink on, but basically this stamp made this print. Okay, so this week, because we're 2 weeks away from Christmas, if you wanted to make a Christmas card or something that you can make a card with, you can do that. You're going to get a stamp, so you can actually use both sides, front and back. So one side, maybe you can do a Christmas card theme. The other side, you can do whatever you want. Okay. But as you can take a look around here, I've got lots of this. Like every year I make one, and I've been teaching this course like 15 years, so I've got lots of different designs. Okay, and a lot of them are Christmas card themes. So in this one, I've got a picture of Jesus and Mother Mary, right? This one, I've got a picture of a dove flying. Okay. This one, I got a picture of a man holding a woman holding a gun, And I even, maybe 10 years ago when I got married, I used this technique to make my own wedding cards, invitation cards. So there's a lot of things you can do with it. But when you make rubber stamps, the one stamp might take like 4 to 10 hours to make, but then you can use it to make hundreds and hundreds of prints. So it saves you time in the long run. You make a good stamp and you can use it over and over again. So I want you to think of things that you can actually use many, many times, right? Don't make a stamp that doesn't really have any purpose, right? Do something that you like or that you can use. A lot of people do things that, maybe their hobbies, or do something with, their favorite things, okay? But how do you get started? Okay, you're going to need to get one of the rubber blocks, and in a sketchbook, trace out the size of the area the stamp is. Okay, make sure it's exactly the same size, and then you have to draw something in there. Okay, so I'm going to keep it sort of simple. I'm drawing an N. Okay, N for Nikita. Nikita's my daughter, right? So I'll use a big N. And the other thing is that when you're drawing a design, you have to make sure you go big, like go right to the edge. Don't do a little tiny thing in the middle. Make it right to the edge. And I'm gonna do some other thing here. That's supposed to be a ninja star. I don't know. I'm just drawing stuff. So maybe I'll do another one. And use a 2B pencil. 2B is very soft. There's a reason we do that. It's because later I want you to be able to transfer the image over. Okay, and Okay, so I've got a design. Okay, now the other thing is I have to decide what parts are going to be cut out and what parts are going to be left in, because it's the same as the last several projects we've done. Remember the scratch board and white Conte crayon on the black paper? Same idea. Whatever I cut out of the rubber, when you make the print, see this part I cut out, when I make the print, that doesn't leave any ink. Whatever I leave on, whatever I don't cut out, that's the part that leaves the ink. So you have to think, okay, what do I want black? What do I want white? Okay, so I'm gonna think about this a bit. Okay, I want maybe I want this part, you know, black. So I'm just shading it in so I can see, right? Okay, so I'm just shading it so I know what's what. And then if this is black, this is white, this will be black and this will be white too. So I'm going to shade in that part. Okay. And then the last thing is I'm going to also put a black border on the outside. I'm just doing it by hand. Okay. Just so I know. Okay. And I'm doing this a lot faster than I'm supposed to because this is a demonstration. I don't have time to waste. But that's my design. Okay. And this is a very simple design because as a demo, when you can tell when I do some other designs, I have lots and lots of detail. Okay. So, all right. Now, this is the image I want. There's a little trick. Take a look. Remember, when you're doing the stamp, it's a mirror image, right? In this picture, the lamb is on the left side of the stamp, but on the print it's on the right side. The lion is on the right side of the stamp, but on the print it's on the left side. So everything's a mirror image, right? So I want a mirror image of this on here. So what can we do? There's a little trick, okay? And you might have to darken some of these lines in more, okay? But I'll show you the trick, okay? You put the rubber on, line it up exactly the way it was, okay? You flip it over like this, carefully, and then you take the pencil again, and you press, not too hard, not too soft, okay? You have to press hard enough, but don't press so hard that you damage the stamp, okay? And you have to cover the entire surface very carefully, okay? What do you think's happening right now?
It will print on the rubber ball.
The more you see, the more you get the reflect.
Yeah, well, we'll see. Okay, ready? Take a look.
Ooh.
Okay. So take a look. The N here is correct, but here it's a negative. It's a mirror image. Okay, and add more pencil in, and you'll see it more clear. But once you transfer it over, you can put the drawing aside. We're done with that. You have to take a pen, blue or black, it doesn't matter, but you have to use a pen. And I'm going to quickly redraw everything I see. Okay, why am I doing this? Well, the pencil, it's going to rub off. It doesn't stay very long. Okay, because you touch it, or later on we're going to be cutting stuff. If you don't use a pen to ink it in, it's not going to last and stay on the rubber. Okay, again, I'm doing this very fast because I don't have a lot of time. Okay, but you guys, please be patient. You have 5 hours today, if you need it, to do this. So I don't want you taking shortcuts like I am, because then it won't look very good. Okay. And when you're doing the inking, you can make corrections too. If you're not happy with stuff, you can make it a little bit better. But okay, so I know what's going to be cut out, right? You can use a pen and shade in the areas that you're going to keep, right? This is what I'm going to keep. So make sure you shade it in, or do something so you know what to cut out, because sometimes people forget to shade it in and then later on they cut it out by accident. With these rubber stamps, you cannot make mistakes, because once you cut out the rubber, that's it. You can't add it back in. It's the same as the scratch boards, right? You know, once you cut it off, it's cut off forever. Okay, so, and what did I say? As I was going to do this, and this, and this. Okay, so anyway, that's ready for cutting. Okay, now with cutting, we don't use knives. We use these tools. Okay, and in this box, I've got lots of cutting tools, but there are many different sizes. You can, if you look carefully, every single one of these has a number. This is a number 1, this is a 3, this is a 4, there might be this is a 5, I don't know, and here's a 2. Okay? I don't know if the camera is going to be able to pick out the different numbers, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The smaller the number, the smaller the blade. The bigger the number, the wider the blade. Okay, but in this box, most of the blades are 1s and 3s. Most people never use 4 and 5 because they're too wide. Okay, so what I want you guys to do is I want you to use a 1 first, because if you use a 1 and you make a mistake, it doesn't cut off too much, then it's not a big mistake if you cut off something accidentally. But if you use a 5, look how big a 5 is. If you accidentally slip and you cut off too much of this, then yeah, it's almost like a spoon. You're going to be damaging the thing. Okay, so don't use a 5. Okay, unless you talk to me first, make sure that it's a good idea. Okay, so when you get the blade, okay, you're all ready to cut. You have to remember, what are we cutting?
The
shaded part.
one that
The shaded part?
white.
No, we're cutting the white part. Okay, make sure you cut off the stuff that you didn't shade. Okay, because if you did it the way, if you cut off the shaded part, then it will look completely different. Not that it's wrong, but for this design I'm doing, I'm cutting out everything I didn't shade. So I'm just shading out the border on the outside just to remind myself, okay, I need to leave that, don't touch that, right? Okay, so all right, how do you cut? Now remember, we're going to be doing a stamp on one side and then also on the other side, and the rubber is very thin. I think it's about 8 millimeters. It's not quite a centimeter, it's about 8 millimeters. we can measure it here. Okay, yeah, it's about 8 millimeters. So if I cut out some on this side and I cut out some on this side, if I cut too deep, what's going to happen?
Cut through.
You'll cut through the rubber, and then you'll damage the stamp. So you never want to cut more than 1 or 2 millimeters. Okay, if you're not sure how much 1 or 2 millimeters is, use a ruler and measure it. It's not very deep. Okay, so how do you cut? The knives only cut in one direction. They only cut in this direction, you see? Okay, they only cut when you're going this way. If you go this way, they don't cut. If you go sideways, it doesn't cut either. It only goes this way, or you can go the other way. You can push, or you can pull. Okay? Get some practice. Maybe use the side and practice cutting a little bit here first. If you press too hard, you might cut out too much like that. That's too deep. So don't press too hard. Usually you just press lightly. And if you do a good job, take a look. I can actually cut one very long strip out. Okay? So that's how much you should be cutting with this. Like, that's how deep. You're not removing a lot of rubber. Okay? These things are very soft. Also, I don't want you guys later, I don't want you bending it. Okay? Because you bend too much, it'll crack. Okay? All right. So I'm going to cut some of this stuff, the white parts out, and for me, I like pulling towards myself. You guys might like pushing, but you guys decide yourself. I've done this for like 15 years, and I prefer doing it this way. So I always cut the edges off the area I'm going to cut first. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to hold it in my hand and gently cut, and you can see I'm cutting one long piece of rubber out. Okay, and then I turn the stamp, cut, and then I can turn the stamp and continue cutting. Okay, I'm trying not to touch the shaded area. I'm getting very close, but not quite touching. I'm not going to do the entire area. I just want to do one small area to show you. So I'm going to cut here and continue cutting. And I'm getting about 1.5 millimeters of rubber out. Okay, and then I will cut here. Oh, I'm pressing too hard. See, the rubber is coming out too deep. See, that's too thick. So don't press too hard. Okay. So anyway, what I do is I will usually go around the edge of one area. Okay. But I only did part of it here. Okay. Now, once you've done the edges, then you can go back and take out parts in the middle. You see that? And again, make sure you don't cut the shaded areas. Okay. And this assignment is going to get a little bit messy because you're going to get lots of little rubber bits. If you find you have too many rubber bits on your table, just dump them into the garbage can, and you know, try to keep your area clean. Make sure you don't drop any onto the floor, because these are hard to clean up. So make sure you keep them on the table. Okay. The very first stamp I ever made, it took me 8 hours to finish because I didn't know what I was doing. It was this one. This one was my very first one I ever did. That was about in 1998. 1999, I think I did that one. So it's like 12 years ago, I think, 12 or 13 years ago. And but nowadays, because I know what I'm doing, I can do ones that are very fancy, a lot of detail, like this one, like a lot of little tiny hairs. That one probably took about 4 hours. So I'm getting faster and better at it. But you guys are beginners. First time you're doing it, I'm not expecting you guys to be able to get this amount of detail. But all it is just patience, right? Okay. If you want like little tiny lines like in here, you're going to have to press very lightly and just take out a little bit at a time. It's very time consuming. Okay. All right. I haven't done the entire N. Okay. I still have a little bit left, but I want to move on to the outside. Okay. And again, I've got a couple of stars. The stars have a circle inside. Here's a little trick. You can poke the cutter in, and then you can turn the rubber, and then I make a little circle. Okay? Because the circle inside has to be cut out. And then, again, I'm going to cut the edges out. Okay. Anthony, maybe you can go find the other stamp pad inside the cabinet while I'm just finishing this up. Okay. Okay, so I've cut out the edge of that star, and I'm going to cut out part of the outside as well. Okay. Thank you. Okay. So again, it's very easy. You just have to cut out all the rubber outside. Don't touch anything that's shaded. And remember, you can always cut off a little bit now, and then later on, if it's not deep enough, you can always go back and cut off more. But the mistake most people make is they cut off too much. They cut too deep right away, and then their block of rubber gets really soft and breaks. Okay, so okay, all right. I'm not anywhere finished yet, because take a look, I still have like all this white stuff that I haven't even touched yet. It's going to take a while to get to the point where I'm complete. Okay, but when you have cut off all the white and you think it's okay, what you have to do is you have to get a scrap piece of paper. Okay, and what I have is I've got some ink pads. These ink pads, you can use it to test to see how it is. But I need you guys to take the rubber to the kitchen or the bathroom, wash off the surface, make sure it's clean before you put it here. Because on the rubber there's a lot of powder, and it's going to stick here, and then if everyone doesn't wash it off, this is going to get really filthy and dirty, and then no one can use it. Unfortunately, I can't pause and go to the bathroom, or can't wash it right now, so I'm just going to try my best to clean off as much of the rubber as possible. Maybe Anthony, you can grab a paintbrush. Yeah, and I'll just brush it off. But yeah, just soap and water, and you should be able to clean it up. Okay. Down the green box to your left. There we go. Perfect. Just give me a big brush. Yeah, there we go. So I'm just gonna, maybe I'll leave a couple of brushes out too, but
Oh.
Yeah, I'm just cleaning it, sweeping it so that it's doesn't have any powder. Okay, all right. So let's hope the pad that Anthony gave me has enough ink. It might, but I haven't used this for a while, so hopefully it hasn't dried out. Okay, good. I think it's fine. And then in your scrap piece of paper, your sketchbook, put it down. And notice how I'm pressing down. I'm not going like this and poking it. Use a hand, a palm, and press down evenly. Okay? Because that way, then the ink will be smooth and spread out. Okay? So, obviously mine is not finished, but this tells me what areas I still have problems with. You can tell here, these parts, I didn't cut off enough or not deep enough. So I got to go back and remove some of those. So you take this back to your table, and then you can go back and you can cut out the parts that are not deep enough. Okay, but eventually you'll be able to get all the rubber bits removed. Okay, so okay, and we're not using this to make our cards. Next week we'll be using a different ink. These have a special ink. This is just to test and see if it's okay. It's not actually used to make the final prints. Okay, so again, fix up all the mistakes that you see. Go to the sink, use soap and water and wash off the ink and all the powder, and then we try it again. And the second time we do it, you can see it's better, but I still left some stuff. So you might have to go and clean it up a couple of times, but some parts I cut out, it's better and smoother, and that looks pretty good. Okay, now I'm not finished, but eventually I'm going to cut off all the white, and it should look pretty nice. Okay, but I still have a long way to go. Okay, but you guys. Usually, today you have 5 hours. Well, actually only about maybe 4 hours now. I'd like you to do 2 today, like front and back. Okay, and next week, if you don't finish today, you can do a little bit more cutting next week as well. But to make the prints next week, there's a technique I have to teach you as well. And we're not going to teach that today. We're going to wait till next week when you actually have finished the cutting part, because the technique I teach you next day, I'm going to show you how to make the best looking prints possible. Okay. Next week you should also bring some paper. The paper that I have for these cards are a special. They're a special cardboard. So if you want to make cards, make sure you buy some card paper and bring it to class. I don't have any card paper for you to use. I have regular paper, but if you want nice cards that are thick, go to the dollar store or go to the stationery store and buy some. They're not that expensive, maybe 25 or 50 cents for one. So if you want to make 10 cards, just bring 10 sheets, okay? But yeah, that's what we're doing today. Okay, if you need to watch the video, just watch it again. But what I want you guys to do right now is I'm going to give each one of you a rubber block. Okay, grab one. And what I want you to do right away is trace. Okay, and make sure you trace one side, one sheet per stamp. So do it. Trace one here and then do another on another sheet. Don't do it on the back and front, because remember, later on you're going to be scribbling on the backside. So you don't want another image, just one per sheet. And show me what you're going to do before you start cutting. I won't let you cut until I've seen your plan, because some people choose designs that are way too hard. This is not for a beginner, okay? Other people choose designs that are way too easy, and I want you to do something that is not too easy, not too hard, but something that you can do in a class, okay? So thank you. We'll see how you guys do.